All right. Welcome back to another episode of your platform podcast. My guest today, OG homie, an OG homie, going back to Little League days. And first of all, I want to say I'm proud of what you're doing.
Appreciate you, bro.
I watch you and been watching you for the last 3 or 4 years. But I'm here with Colin Potter, owner of I'm going to mess this up because Potter Quality Remodeling.
Yes, sir.
And you started your business. 2019 is when you got your.
Yeah, I got my license right around then.
License there in
right around the
2018.
COVID.
Yeah. So before we go into what you do for your work, I'm very impressed in waking up every morning to I don't have to download an app to see a motivational quote or a inspiration to kind of get my day going, and I read through them. I actually have my notifications on because of that. I keep them on because a lot of people do that.
Yeah, that's dope.
And for me, I think the positive mantras and those my former boss calls them isms, but I think those are valuable. And a lot of people don't. I think they say them, but they don't really believe in them. And one thing I think I've learned about you in the last couple of years, following you from afar, right, from Facebook, and seeing that is that you truly believe in them.
I do.
And I love that. So I want to talk a little bit about that first.
Definitely.
And also talk about the book that you wrote. Is that a book that you wrote, or is that? So talk to me a little bit about that.
So basically, a good friend of mine took all my writings from about a year and compiled them and edited them and put them in a book for me.
That's cool. So is it something that you're going to release, or?
Yeah, so I wasn't crazy about the publishing deal, how they did it. Yeah. It was more of a gift, but now it's in a format that I could potentially put out soon.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. So is that something that you have done? Is it based off of you said your Facebook posts, or is it just something you just just jot down?
All off my Facebook posts, and I try to write. I don't write as much as I used to. I try to write a few times a week, whether it just be journaling or what's going on in the world, thoughts, ideas, business ideas, just anything in between.
What inclined you to do
that? Content on the internet.
Yeah.
Seeing so many people just so overstimulated.
Yeah.
And it seemed like everybody's just running around every day.
Right.
Just thinking they can't do this, can't do that. And then everything's fake. This video's fake. They didn't really do that. It's like, you could really do that.
Yeah. So let's go through a couple of things. So I'm curious to know how I've been engaging people on my show, and which specifically the purpose of my show is to have these conversations with people like you. And I think everybody has a story. So, whether that be, I had the cards laid for me on the table, or, I was homeless and, I built this, what I have today. Bring me to where you are today, what it's looked like for the last decade, and what values and principles that you use in your life to get to where you are today.
So it's interesting. I never studied carpentry.
No.
I went to Grasso Tech for automotive.
Okay.
I graduated. 1 month later, I started at Lincoln Technical Institute for diesels, work on 18-wheelers. I graduated from there, was looking for an internship. And one of my teachers came and got me and said, "Hey, I have a construction business. Why don't you come work with me for a couple weeks till you get something?" Mm-hmm. I was like, "Yeah, cool, make some money." I stayed there for about 10 years. We started off, first project I did was building houses and stuff. I loved it, fell in love with it, fell in love with the work, helping people.
What did you love about it?
I think purchasing a home may be for most people their largest investment they might ever make. So I think taking that from a house to a home, and really, especially when people, save their money and hard-earned money and then want to do a renovation.
Right.
I want to be through that process with them. And I think it's a cool process to go to. And I love just the change of pace every day. It's not just doing brakes or tires or this, we do everything under the sun.
So are you on your own, or what's
your? So I have my own company now, fully licensed and insured, general contractor. Starting to get lead certifications to open the door for just more city work. I've noticed a lot of these older homes in Norwich, New London stuff, they have a lot of lead paint and hazardous materials, and it's expensive to renovate all that stuff. So I'd like to be able to offer good services just to pretty much everybody.
Yeah. So what were your challenges early on, and your, going back, so you started 2019, you started.
Yep.
You were working for someone else beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
That bridge to going from having a boss to being your own boss, what were the challenges like?
First thing was confidence.
Yeah.
I think any new business owner, you have those days where you say, "Is this going to work?
Yeah.
Can I do this?"
Definitely.
Just trusting yourself to start taking bigger risks
Right.
and recognizing that I got through this and I did it
Mhm.
successfully.
Mhm.
I should keep going. So that was probably my biggest challenge at first, is taking the risks. And then once I started taking risks and got more confidence in
Yeah.
myself, everything just started flowing.
It's funny because I actually shared this yesterday with a couple of people. I've actually been just talking about this, and maybe you can chime in on that risk standpoint. I think that when it comes to risk, that's a level of uncomfort, and we're wired to be uncomfort. We're wired to be comfortable, right? We want to get back. We want to do things that are easy, that don't hurt, because we want to avoid pain. And I relate this to this podcast in itself. I, for the first time in my for the first time in my life, in a long time, I should say, I won't say the first time, but for the first time in a while, I feel myself pushing past uncomfort during this podcast. And that goes as far as sitting down here today. Like, man, I know you, right? For the most part, everybody that's been on my show, there's only one person that I didn't know. Uh, the other 10 episodes is people that I've met over the last year, or people that I've known my entire life.
Mm.
But for the first time, I feel what it means to push through uncomfort. It's doing the things that you don't want to do. And I think that there's a misconception to uh, once you get past uncomfort, like once you get past that you're over it. That's not true. That uncomfort's there's going to be there daily.
100%.
And I wonder, in other people's work and in what you just mentioned, is that can you agree? Is that something you would agree to?
Yeah, I think you have a level of comfort. Once you get outside that level of comfort, you got to take some pride,
Sure.
and you really got to analyze that. Hey,
Right,
I did this.
right.
But then you just go to another uncomfortable situation.
Exactly.
They don't stop. Growth happens in uncomfortable places.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So your passion kind of for remodeling, is it specifically because you do a couple of things, it seems like, right? You do
Yeah,
the
so
woodworking and
I pretty much do everything from
Yeah.
frame to finish.
Yeah.
The only bigger things I don't do is like the roofing and larger siding jobs. I just don't have a crew, and I think it's a very competitive field
yeah,
to be
yeah,
in.
yeah.
But everything else, yeah, I was lucky to study under a guy that just knew products
Mhm.
really well.
Yeah.
And we come from the automotive world too.
Sure,
So just the mechanical side of it, if I could see it taken apart,
Yeah.
I could probably do it
Yeah.
once or twice.
When I had asked you to throw out some topics to me that you want to discuss, and these are some of the ones that I pulled away from that little blurb that you gave me. But I'm actually curious because you had mentioned the sweat equity that people in maybe say in 2024 don't want to put in. Did I interpret that correctly?
Yeah, definitely.
Elaborate that for me.
So when I first got in this industry, at the time, a lot of our clientele were approaching the retirement ages.
Mhm.
And we would start, taking down walls and stuff like that. And you get the stories of how much work these people did to their own homes. Everybody, we moved in, we re-wallpapered, we painted all the rooms for the kids. My husband did the doors, did that. Nothing major, but just doing stuff in the house. Now I think a lot of these younger couples are not under that impression.
Yeah.
Especially with these older, larger homes. I think they have big dreams, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. Some of them make enough money where, yeah, they can afford to hire somebody.
Right.
But I think there's a lot they could be doing themselves.
Yeah.
That would benefit them greatly.
What would those benefits you think would be? I'm curious.
I think anytime you take any project from start to finish, there's just a sense of pride that I did something, especially something like a room or anything that you could see the visual progress and see it for the rest of, however long you're going to have it like that.
Would that, would it impact your job, but, doesn't it bring more business to you in the sense that, like, they don't want to do it, they bring on you, or is this more of a, I don't say financial advice, but more of a, you can save money. That's you kind of are like a consultant in a sense.
Yeah. So, that's a big thing nowadays. Life is expensive. Building materials are expensive.
Yeah.
The cost of building goes up every day.
Yeah.
And the real estate world is very, very competitive right now.
Yeah.
So where I could save people some money, I try to.
Yeah.
you buy your first house, you get in there that first year,
Yep.
you don't have the money to do the ideal kitchen you
God,
want
no.
or the
No,
bathroom
no,
you
no,
want,
no chance.
So when we start getting into these renovations, we start saying like, hey, if you're comfortable, there's some areas where you could take over.
Yeah. What's your day-to-day look like? Like, what are you working on, mainly older homes, or do you do new builds at all, or?
I don't do a lot of new
Yeah.
construction. I think right now there's a lot of money in remodeling
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of knowledge passed down in the remodeling worlds.
Sure.
On a new construction job site, I could probably bring a guy up to speed with the general tasks of the day in about 6 months.
Yeah.
He would be good on new construction homes.
Okay.
Remodeling takes years of finding stuff and
Mhm.
understanding things in different homes
Yeah.
and what guys did. Sometimes you're taking apart 3 renovations from
Right.
the 60s, 80s, and the
Right,
90s.
right.
So I like the detective work you have to do,
Yeah.
but the knowledge transfer, it's amazing what
Mm.
these old master carpenters know and
Yeah.
how much they know about the
How
homes.
much of research are you doing on your day-to-day for your own field, right? So we got, our daily lives. You want to do, like, I read, I just posted the other day, I'm reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. But like, in terms of, I always find myself caught in between wanting to read something for pleasure, but I probably should be reading a lot for work, because things change in the industry. How
Yeah,
much of that stuff are you doing?
it's very hard to clock out of work.
Yeah.
I have to research material
Mm.
often because it's always changing. There's new material, and I want to be able to offer everything I can to the
Sure.
customer. But I want to know what the guys in the industry are doing. I think
Yeah.
some of the best carpenters in the world on $1 million houses, they might use tools that can be very significant to me that I might not see.
Right.
That may increase my productivity.
Right.
So yeah, I spend an unhealthy amount of time
Okay.
studying my craft.
Well, that's good though. I mean, in my opinion, I wish I studied more. I mean, I'm stubborn, like I said earlier, right before we started the show. I get to a point of, I think that, not that I know everything, but I know enough to, you know, and this is why I'm glad I have you on, because I'm going to ask you a couple of questions regarding my field. But I get to a point that, like, I think I know enough, but things change so rapidly, whether it be AI, and you just mentioned the new material for homes. When we calculate it from the insurance standpoint, we calculate the cost per square foot to replace the house.
Sure.
It's not the market value. It's not what people pay for the house. So and I think that's a little bit of a misconception
I often have to explain ACV and depreciation when I work on insurance jobs for homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's tough. I think that should be some type of education taught. Mm-hmm. What is your homeowner's policy cover?
Yeah.
What happens when you have a claim?
Yeah.
Because I find myself, and I was ignorant to it. I had to work for, it was one of the years we had a lot of snowstorms. There's ice dams everywhere. So I was just lucky to do almost primarily insurance work for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I did tons of walkthroughs and adjusters and everything like that. And it's a whole different animal.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that, because I do take pride in the education piece. That's something I do from start to finish. When people come, especially when they're buying their house, whether it's a first-time home buyer or it's somebody who's bought the second, third home, I'm going through those coverages as to, because that coverage A amount is the dwelling, it's the house and the structure of the house, right? And a lot of people are just like, no, I just want the price. So it's my job to go through this with you, because what happens if you have a claim and there's a loss?
Right.
When you think about the materials, what are some changes are you seeing in the materials from, let's just say, 5 years ago? Costs are increasing. Is that the same type of material that's increasing, or is it newer material that's that we have that's driving the cost, increasing costs?
I think we live in the day and age of, if it could be maintenance free, we want it. I think a lot of people want maintenance free stuff. Of
course.
I really, as a carpenter, I love seeing natural products on homes.
Sure.
I like seeing wood, cedar shake, stuff like that, wood decks. I will admit, maintenance-free stuff, a lot of these plastics and vinyls and composite materials, they're nice.
Yeah.
They are, like I said, they're maintenance-free. You don't have to do too much to them. They could be lighter. They're very expensive, though. Mm-hmm. And so we got this, do you want to paint your deck every 3 to 5 years?
Right.
Or do you want to spend an extra $7,000 on this project?
Right.
So it's interesting. But you also got to be wary of products. Products come out.
Yeah.
You got to watch them. Maybe they use them for 3 years.
Right.
Maybe it's phenomenal in a desert climate in Arizona.
Right.
but it won't stand up to New England's winters.
Yeah, right. What's happening now with building costs? Are they, I follow politics, and we got stuff that's happening in the Middle East. We got stuff that's happening, Israel. Um, I remember when Russia invaded Ukraine. There was a little bit of we had some supply chain shortages, and I think that's kind of when, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's when things kind of just shot up.
Yeah, COVID was a lot of it
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Once we shut down a lot of the lumber yards and
Mhm.
factories and stuff like that, we had these large time lapses, and a lot of material got confused on job
Yeah.
sites, kind of lost in the mix. And I think with people spending so much time at home without with the uncertainty that this could be a forever thing. I mean, look how many people are now working from home a few days a week, or if not
Yeah,
most, right?
yeah,
So we went from like making open floor
yeah.
plans 10 years ago, and now people are like, well, can I put up a wall here and get my
Right,
office back?
right. What was COVID like for you?
Busy.
Yeah, like
Uh,
from 2 weeks to slow the pandemic to
just busy phone
yeah,
calls every day. People are home, they're staring at stuff.
yeah,
Some people got stimulus checks that were doing okay,
yeah,
that they could afford to put a couple dollars here.
right,
It was an interesting time.
right. Going back to, I'm curious, going back to the sweat equity piece, and because I kind of went off a little bit. What advice do you have to young buyers that are, whether it's a remodel, what would you suggest to them going,
So two things. The University of YouTube is a wonderful source.
yeah, for sure.
And don't kid yourself. Professionals are on there every day watching other professionals.
Right.
And I think the products that are out there now are easier to use and easier to learn about.
Yeah.
Almost everything comes with step-by-step videos,
Yeah.
sometimes by the supplier themselves. A lot of manufacturers are actually starting to advertise to customers specifically. I have building supply houses that you can't walk in there and get pricing. Only I can.
Yeah.
You're starting to see more customers wanting to come in and
Right.
do their own things.
Right.
And I think that's great.
Do you think AIs are, what type of impact AI would have in your role, or do you think your role is something that is not going to be impacted by that?
So I just downloaded these 3 apps, and I haven't got the chance to use them yet. But I saw a guy walk on a job site, and he took his phone and he took a video of a deck. And within that video that he took, the AI was able to give him a material count on the lumber he would need. Yeah, down to a cut list.
Wow.
So he could sit at home and pre-cut everything.
Wow.
And then come and assemble. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much time
that
would spend.
Yeah.
And that actually, if I got a guy that's good at cutting, and maybe he doesn't do design or anything like that, I can give him that. Now he's building decks on his own. It could be dangerous. It's like you just have too much knowledge, but I think it's going to open some doors for some people who are handy to do their own stuff.
Right.
I think it's going to transcend some areas in the construction industries where hopefully we will see lower costs.
Yeah.
But now you're investing in software too.
Correct.
So it's an added business.
What was the other app? You said there's 3 apps you down? Or
they're all the same. Yeah, they're all the same. One does decking, one does roofs. The roof one was interesting too, because now I see guys, the old days you'd get up on the roof and you'd measure it. Then you got guys who will take strides across the house.
Yeah.
And then, you can get close on your measurements.
Yeah.
Now people have drones. What a wonderful tool.
Lovely.
Put a drone in the sky, it takes the video, and now you have actual dimensions.
Yeah.
I've had insurance adjusters. I'm not getting on the roof to go look at it.
And they just pop up a drone?
Boom. Now we both have perfect pictures of even the hard to see areas too. So I think technology definitely has its place. I was looking at a company the other day. I can't remember their name, but what they're trying to solve is job site Wi-Fi. And so you could be able to run all these tools in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Oh, that's
I think we're on the brink of
there's some innovations coming.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome. So walk me through your process, right? Somebody, I call you up. What's that process like? And, and this is actually real. We want new stairs. We have a ranch, 1-story ranch. We have a finished basement. Our attic is finishable, but that's a bigger project because the plumbing, the electric has to go through that. But everything downstairs is all set. If we wanted to, which we'd eventually want to, put stairs that goes from our living room downstairs, what's that process look like?
So I'd come over and take a look at the space and just make sure that it's feasible. I like to tell people it's kind of like building a race car. How fast you want it to go is how much money you want to spend.
Right.
We could do anything technically, but what's cost effective.
Sure.
So I like to get over there, talk to the clients, and see what their uses and needs are, just in case I could offer any input on design.
Yeah.
But basically, take my measurements. I'll go home, start putting together some numbers, send over an estimate. If we can come to agreement on that, sign a contract, get you on schedule.
Yeah. Do you deal with 203K loans often?
Not too many 203K loans. It's funny. My old employer, we talk often. He's a mentor of mine. He's dealing with a 203K loan.
Yeah.
But in a different sense, because I know you have a 203K loan when you first buy the house.
Yeah, for new buy.
But you can also do a 203K loan if you own the house.
Yeah,
and the stipulations are a little different.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Sometimes I think contractors get a little weary when you have to work with multiple municipalities, banks, and stuff like that, auditors, and but no, I'm just starting to dabble my feet into that.
Yeah, cool. Good for you. Listen, I think from what I gathered, your motto is always forward, right? And I stumbled something you posted, either it was 2022 or maybe at the end of 2023, where it had finally come to you that might have been a mentor that suggested it to you, and they had said that, always forward isn't necessarily going in a straight line. It's just getting into that destination. You go left, right. How much of that motto is part of your vision for what you do for work, and what you want to leave for your legacy?
I think it's everything. It's everything I do. And I come across these times where I have to sit back and go, man, I'm having a frustrating week.
Yeah.
Am I still progressing though? I'm like, yeah, you are. Mm-hmm. It's just not at the rate or the path that you saw. We think everything's going to be so straight.
Right.
And you think you're going to see your growth visually very easy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you might have your head down for 6 months and look up and go, wow, I built this.
Yeah.
And it's working.
How do you block out the noise? I mean, there's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of noise. And I ask this more so for myself, because I think fortunately starting the podcast, it's allowed me to block out the noise. But, I think there's a quote, I don't know if Denzel re-quoted it or he said it, but he said, if you're, what I had read that he might've said was, if you're paying attention, you're misinformed. But if you're not paying attention, you're disinformed. And that I catch myself in between of like, there's so much stuff that I want to do, that I want to pay attention to. But how do you block out the noise?
It's tough. I used to really love politics, and I do like politics a lot. Same. I just don't have the capacity to go through whose opinion I want to listen to about today.
Right.
So once I got into stocks and investing, that was easier because now I can look at markets and kind of tell what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So that helped consolidate that a lot, and I'm very much into the economic world.
Mm-hmm. How so?
I love investing. I read about investing every day.
From who?
From crypto. Well, so stocks, I like Larry Jones, Keenan Grace, Stocks with Josh. These are all YouTubers, Facebook guys.
Are they an X or anything? Do you know, or on Twitter?
Nah, I don't really mess with X. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not with the times yet.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, I'm sure.
Twitter's a cesspool, man. There's a lot of everybody has an opinion, and I think that's one thing. Facebook, you can see that, right, with comments and stuff. But
sure,
Twitter's just worse. And I love Twitter for that, but I also it can pollinate or poison your brain a little bit.
Sure. It's I follow a lot of great builders on Facebook, but just the way these guys speak to each other, it just turns you on. It's like, man, I was just trying to give you a compliment, brother.
Yeah, man. It's unfortunate that we are in such a polarizing time when it comes to that stuff, that your opinion could be construed one way or the other instead of having a conversation about your opinion. I'm actually watching this happen real time when I posted about, has anyone read the book 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson? And it's going right now, like through the entire day. There's been back and forth comments, but in my opinion, I think it's pretty constructive. I'm actually enjoying the dialogue that's happening.
A lot of these conversations we see, they are constructive.
Yes.
They might not be in the best tones
Yeah,
and the best way to get across to
right.
each other.
Rather have it on a podcast as opposed to reading it.
Sure. If these people were all in a room together, they wouldn't be speaking to each other like
No
that.
chance.
You
No
know,
chance. There's the internet bullies is what we call them. Uh,
I like Jordan Peterson. Though.
I've followed him because he's been on a couple of people that I follow. So Patrick Bet David's big. It's one of the guys that I follow pretty closely. He's been on his show a bunch of times. I think vice versa. So I'm diving into his work a little bit. I've had the book for over a year, and just started reading it, and so I'm interested to see his takes and whatnot.
Yeah, I love his philosophy, and then I must have followed him for a year before I found out his religion was a big part of what he does.
Right.
And I thought that was very interesting because I never felt like he was trying to push religion on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan.
I didn't know until recently that he had a addiction problem. So it makes me even more wanting to read that book. Have you read the entire book or no?
No,
It's a big book.
Yeah, it's on. I have a list of 60 books
Yeah.
I read. I think one time I wrote something about atomic habits, and you had commented.
Yeah.
That book changed a lot with me.
Yes. So I talked about this on a podcast with one of my good friends, and he's a realtor, James Corby. Shout out to him and Chris Tremont, what they're doing over at New London for EXP Realty. But we had discussed. We were talking about I don't know if you've looked at on Netflix. There's a documentary called Stutz, and it's about Jonah Hill's.
Therapist.
Yeah.
Great documentary.
I loved it. So when I watched that at the same time as reading Atomic Habits and finishing it, and putting the two together changed my life. Like, I was working out, I was eating healthier. I felt real change in my life based off of that. On the subject of books, what other books that can you throw out there for listeners that helped you, and maybe you can recommend to other people?
So it's when you say, how do I block it out? Atomic Habits changed my morning habits. And part of that was I read for an hour every morning.
Okay.
I do 10 minutes of meditation. That helps me block out a lot of the noise.
How does it help you? Because I feel like people, and I think the one thing with Atomic Habits is that the premise is small gains, right? Little gains. Did you start the meditation by 1 minute, 2 minutes, or did you start with 10 minutes and you just keep doing it? You're just doing it daily, building off the days, building off the minutes?
It was just consistency.
I
just wanted to do consistent meditation. Same thing with reading. I didn't just want to read a book every day. I wanted to become a reader. So the meditations, I would just look for 10-minute guided meditations just because of the time factor.
Right. So how early are you waking up? I'm curious.
5:30 every day. Okay. But I've been doing this for about 14 years.
So it's
I don't need it. Yeah, I don't need a clock.
No children. Yeah, that's.
I didn't mean to say it like that.
No. I love my kids. I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old, and they get up early. And me and my wife, we did it last week. We got up at 5:30. We looked at each other. She was like, "Should we get up?" And I said, "Yeah, we should get up." So we got up. We worked out, and we felt great, and we were really productive in the next couple of days. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with it, because it's the consistency piece, I think, is the hardest piece. The consistency which builds discipline.
Consistency in anything.
Yeah, in anything, right? Yeah. In anything. And so you read an hour a day. That's great. I'm trying to get that. How many pages you get through, you think? Probably an hour.
It depends, because I try to read like a chapter and not stop in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like the subtle art of not giving a fuck. It's tough because those were longer chapters.
Yeah.
So some days
and it's a small book too.
Small book, just long chapters. But I'd say I read about at least 20 pages.
That's perfect, man.
Depending on what the text is.
And I think that's where you build that consistency, and I'm really excited to have this conversation. Like I said, any other books that
John Bogle, The Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. I think that's a wonderful book for people who would like to manage their own money in a very, very simple way. Napoleon Hill,
Think and Grow Rich.
That's a phenomenal book. I didn't know that book was written post the Depression, and to have such relevance in today's society.
Right.
But that book was very empowering. Mindset.
Yeah. That's on my reading list as well.
Psychology and Money. Yeah. I'm waiting to read that.
I have that at
That's
home.
probably my next one.
Yeah. You know David Cruz is? So David had suggested He actually left it at my house before he went back to Miami, because he moved from Connecticut to Miami, and he had recommended The Psychology of Money. It's just been sitting there, haven't read it. And again, like I said, I have my hands in 9 million things. This podcast has taken a life of its own. It's a second job, and now who knows what's going to happen with what these guys are have brought to the table.
Right.
What's your motivation? What's your day to day? What's your principles that you follow, and what motivates you?
One, to set an example for people. I think we all come from different walks of life, but our mindset can really dictate what we can do in life and where we're going. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. I want them to really understand how much of this world is accessible to them.
Right.
I think so many people think like, oh, $1 million is unattainable.
Yeah.
Running a big business is just so far out of reach. I don't have the skills to do it. It's like, you do.
Yeah.
You really do. Right. You just got to tap into yourself.
Right.
And I think if I could show everybody or more people how to just believe in themselves, work hard a little more, their life will be better for it.
There's a sense that I gather from this conversation that there might be a little motivational speaker in Colin Potter's life. Is that accurate or no?
It's funny. So my dad was a writer.
Yeah.
I always said I was never going to be a writer.
Right.
And then I find myself writing every morning.
Yeah.
My dad did some motivational speaking. He used to go speak at St. Thomas More's graduation and stuff like that. I always said I was never going to do it.
Yeah.
Now I can see myself being a motivational
speaker. Funny. That's funny. That's awesome.
Maybe politics when I get a little older.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this conversation. This is, very, very insightful. And one thing I want to ask you, if there's out of any book that you've read, let's just call it in the last 12 to 18 months, what's one piece of advice from one book that you give people?
Ooh. Make your bad habits unattractive. I think that could quickly change your life. It's hard to start a new habit. It's easier to adjust a current habit. Making the bad habits just unattractive to you that's a big one.
Awesome. Where can people find you, Colin?
I'm on Facebook. My webpage is somewhat up there. I'm still learning my own design and stuff like that, but potterquality.org, at Potter Quality Remodeling on Facebook, and TikTok the same.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. This was fun.
Yeah, definitely. Man. Appreciate it.